Mamaya Yuto is a tired salesman working for a small, harsh company. His everyday life feels suffocating. He works outside even in unbearable heat, forced to wear a suit because his stubborn superior insists on it. He regrets not taking his car, even if it meant paying for gas himself. His company functions like a typical black corporation obsessed with passion pay, squeezing effort while giving almost nothing in return. He wants to quit, but he never feels confident that another company would hire him. That lack of confidence traps him, so he keeps working even though he hates it. He tries to stay positive, convincing himself that even his meager paycheck is enough to handle the bills. At home, his small escape comes from his bookshelf. He recently discovered a new book about protagonists who get transported to another world and become overpowered. Reading those stories has become his hobby. He remembers how he used to love fantasy games long ago. Tales where plain-looking characters gain cheat abilities and accomplish incredible feats always make him feel refreshed. A part of him even jokes internally, asking a goddess to take him to another world, though he laughs it off immediately. After indulging in that small dream, he prepares to return to work, expecting another ordinary day. But everything changes in an instant. Without warning, something pulls him out of his normal life. He senses a presence, almost like a ghost. A strange figure appears and speaks as if the situation is completely natural. The being apologizes for dragging him into this place and calmly states an intention to send him to another world. Mamaya freezes. His mind races. The entire scenario feels exactly like the beginning of an isekai story. He even wonders whether the acorn-shaped haired figure in front of him is some kind of god. He immediately denies the possibility, telling himself he must have collapsed from heat stroke and is simply dreaming. However, the being states that this is not a dream, and that Mamaya has been pulled into this space deliberately. The being then reveals that the world Mamaya will be sent to is a true fantasy world, complete with weapons, magic, and skills. Mamaya's sense of disbelief nearly overwhelms him. If this is real, he wonders whether he might at least receive cheat skills. But the being rejects the idea right away, saying no such thing will be given. Mamaya panics. Being sent to a dangerous world without any special abilities feels like suicide. He immediately begs to be returned to his original world. He searches for an exit, determined to treat this as a hallucination. Yet the being insists that he will be going regardless, explaining that Mamaya's deep dissatisfaction with his current life is what made this encounter possible in the first place. The words hit him hard. He realizes the being has seen the truth he never admits out loud. As a student, he spent all his time immersed in virtual worlds, escaping reality. It is not that he dislikes the idea of an isekai adventure, he simply wants to avoid a future where he dies powerless and meaninglessly. His frustration rises. Inwardly, he curses the being, calling it a foolish director controlling a ridiculous script. If he is going to be forced into another world, he decides he will demand cheat abilities no matter what. He has no training in martial arts, no experience in magic, and no familiarity with survival skills. His body is soft and unfit. He cannot imagine what someone like him is supposed to achieve in a dangerous fantasy world. Fear creeps in, and he begins to suspect that the being might enjoy sending powerless people to their deaths. He insists that, if he is sent as he is now, he will definitely die. He asks whether the being intends to watch him die in vain. The being denies having such intentions and then considers helping him. Mamaya waits desperately. The being decides to grant him a younger body. Mamaya impulsively asks to be made 0 years old, but the being rejects the idea an infant cannot survive. He asks instead for the age of 13, and the being accepts. He then asks for a skill or blessing. The being complains that he is asking for too much, but Mamaya insists that without any skill he will still die. The being finally agrees to give him a single ability as a special exception. Mamaya will be able to see his status screen at will, a handmade blessing the being expects him to appreciate. Mamaya immediately asks what else will be added, but the being tells him that this is all he will receive. Frustration floods him. A status screen alone does not feel like a cheat skill. Nothing has genuinely improved for him. Before he can protest further, the being initiates the transfer. Mamaya panics and tries to resist, but the being dismisses his cries with tired irritation. As the world around him begins to distort, the being makes one final remark. Despite Mamaya's doubts, he will become the most blessed existence in that world. Whether he grows, awakens, prospers, or is destroyed will depend entirely on the choices he makes once he arrives. Mamaya reflects on what happened. God sent him into a forest like this. He is an RPG player, not someone used to survival games, but he knows this is not the time to complain. God made him younger, and that fact still bothers him. He wonders if he was too greedy during the negotiation. He believes he could have handled it better. For a moment, he thought everything was going in his favor, but in the end, God only made him younger and gave him a status screen. He understands that this is the limit of what he can gain when negotiating with someone of much higher status. Still, he finds a small comfort in knowing that he managed to receive something special. He chooses to think that way to calm himself. Now that he is already here, he knows he cannot give up so easily. He feels urgency rise inside him. He needs to find a place to sleep before night falls. He also needs water, food, and something to start a fire. There is no time to waste. He decides to check everything he currently carries. He finds a flashlight with batteries, a wallet, a seal stamp, Phillips and flathead screwdrivers, a calculator, memo pads, ballpoint pens, a plastic board, and several contract papers. He judges that the screwdrivers can serve as weapons if needed. Moving in leather shoes feels difficult, but he believes he can manage somehow. Even his clothes may need to be adjusted. He accepts this harsh reality. He resolves to struggle until the very end and silently directs that resolve toward the acorn head god who sent him here. Mamiya notices a white circle at the edge of his vision. He feels curious and wonders if it is a button. He focuses on it, and the status screen appears at once. The screen fills his view and blocks almost everything in front of him. He feels surprised. He realizes that he can control it with his mind, which feels convenient, but he also feels annoyed. The screen is too big and covers most of his sight. He checks the display and sees his name, Mamiya Yuto, Level 1. Below it, he notices an empty bar. He understands that his blessing and title sections are also empty. Mamiya feels amazed as he looks at the status screen. He sees many categories of skills such as combat, magic, support, passive, and even creation. Just at a glance, he notices more than 100 types. Each skill has a bar that shows whether he has unlocked it or not. Some skills clearly have higher versions that will unlock once certain conditions are met. The whole system feels very similar to a game status screen, and it is easy for him to understand. At the top, he notices some numbers and assumes they represent his current skill points. He does not yet know how to earn those points, but he understands that skills start from 0 and grow over time. With that in mind, he decides to carefully record his initial status. Mamiya notices a monster. He realizes that he focused too much on the skill list and ignored his surroundings. Tension fills his body. He wonders what he should do. The monster looks like one that appears in the early stage, but Mamiya has never fought before. Doubt rises as he questions whether he can defeat it. Even so, he forces himself to observe it carefully and predict its movements. The monster stands about 30 to 40 centimeters tall. Its size is slightly larger than a rabbit. Mamiya understands that a direct hit could kill him from shock alone. Even if he survives the blow, he has no first aid medicine, so the injury would still lead to death. He decides that safety must come first. He studies the monster and wonders if its horn is its weapon. He predicts that it will attack by charging straight at him. The monster suddenly runs faster than he expected. Mamiya feels alarm, but he realizes that if he blocks its vision, it will struggle to hit him accurately. He accepts the loss and sacrifices his custom-made suit. As expected, the monster charges at him. Mamiya follows through with his plan. He grits his teeth as the monster keeps moving. He gathers his courage and strikes, trusting the strength of his necktie. He reminds himself that the tie is sturdy and expensive. After the impact, he pauses and looks closely. He wonders if the monster is finally dead. Mamiya does not feel any joy from his first victory. He knows this is not the time to relax. Urgency fills his mind as he thinks about finding a place to sleep before night fully falls. His eyes land on a tall tree and he wonders if he can climb it. He judges the height and realizes that if his hands cannot reach, he can use his belt to help. He thinks about how buying good, sturdy items as an office worker finally has meaning here. Mamiya pushes his young body forward and gathers all his strength. He climbs the tree with effort, telling himself to move and not give up. From above, he still cannot see the edge of the forest. A city is nowhere in sight. Frustration rises as he curses the acorn head god in his mind, feeling as if he was thrown here just to die. He recalls the god's careless reassurance that everything would be fine. Mamiya looks into the distance and remembers the direction he was told. Beyond the forest lies a river, past the mountains, and then a flat land where a settlement might exist. The thought does not bring comfort. Despair weighs heavily on him. Too many problems stand in his way, and every step feels dangerous. Even so, a faint feeling stirs inside him. It feels like his future has opened just a little. He grips that feeling tightly. Mamiya steals his resolve and decides to push forward. No matter what, he will cross this sea of trees. Mamiya wakes up after a long and uncomfortable night on top of a tree. The idea of a happy life in another world fades like a dream. His body aches, and he misses his soft bed. When morning comes, Mamiya gathers his thoughts and decides what to do next. He chooses to look for a river. Along the way, he plans to gather food. If he finds nothing, he still has the horned rabbit as emergency food. He checks the time using his multifunction watch. The watch has an orientation function and a built-in compass. Its usefulness surprises him. He wonders why he did not think of using it sooner, then understands that small things are easy to forget in desperate moments. The wisdom of the modern world still helps him. As he moves forward, he notices birds and their eggs. They look edible. Doubt crosses his mind, but hunger pushes him forward. He decides to take as many as he can and feels encouraged as he continues. Curiosity leads him to check his status. Something new appears. Gathering food gives him experience. An experience bar also appears on his taijutsu skill. It grows from defeating the horned rabbit and from gathering. He understands that repeating related actions increases skill levels. Excitement fills him. This world truly works like a game, and that thought gives him hope. Survival now feels possible. His attention then shifts to something ahead. Unlike the horned rabbit, this presence is clearly humanoid. Confidence rises within him, and he believes he will not lose. The figure becomes clear. It is a goblin. The goblin charges at him, strikes him hard, and knocks him away before he can react. Mamiya crashes into the ground as blood splashes. The goblin attacks without mercy. Mamiya realizes he is too naive. He is only level 1 and his status is lower than the goblins. Goblins are not NPCs that give easy experience. They are living creatures that attack with full hostility and try to kill. He understands that he must abandon careless thinking and fight with the intent to kill. Mamiya grips his knife and thrusts it into the goblin. Pain spreads through his body, and he accepts the outcome. He understands that this happens because he overestimated himself. The fight could have gone better if he had used a surprise attack. He hopes his wound does not grow worse. He understands clearly that this is not a game and that he must be more careful. Something feels wrong near the place where the goblin falls. He knows that humans can die easily in this world. Dark mist spreads among the trees. Mamiya senses danger and turns, but something strikes him from behind. He crashes to the ground and coughs in pain. A round mole monster jumps out of the soil with a strange cry. At first, Mamiya thinks it looks cute, then fear hits him because it just attacked. He wonders how it attacked and hears it cry Mokyo. He suspects it is some kind of magic. Panic rises because he is already within the enemy's range and does not understand the attack. He can only guard himself. Even with the damage reduced by hitting his back, the power feels strong. He knows that repeated hits would kill him. Mamiya realizes he cannot keep defending and is not confident he can dodge. He decides to move forward instead. The mole tries to attack again, but Mamiya defeats it before the attack lands. The system notifies him that his level increases to 2. He reaches level 2 and understands one clear truth. This world is extremely harsh. Sleeping on the tree does not remove his exhaustion. Fighting a goblin and a mole one after another puts heavy strain on his body, and the wounds make it worse. He realizes that he must wash his injuries. His body smells bad and the discomfort becomes unbearable. He also notices that he has not drunk enough water and feels close to his limit. He moves forward and finally finds water. Relief fills him as he confirms it is safe. He kneels down and drinks deeply. The thirst fades. He checks the surroundings and notices fish and signs of small animals. He sets a simple fish trap that is easy to enter and hard to escape. He feels satisfied with the result. With water secured, fish nearby, and meat already on hand, he decides the next step. Now is the time to learn fire magic, returns to his sleeping place and hopes it will be enough for the night. He looks at the 2 points he gained from leveling up and decides to use both of them on fire magic. He selects the skill and adds the points. Fire magic level 1 unlocks. The description appears. Able to cast fire magic using less than 10 magic power. Excitement rises, but confusion follows right away. He expects a clear spell, something like firing a fireball at an enemy. He tries to use the skill. Nothing happens. He tries again and calls out fireball. Still nothing. He wonders if he needs to activate it differently. He changes his hand position and tries again. Nothing changes. Frustration builds as he stares at the screen. Those 2 points took real effort to earn. He forces himself to calm down and think carefully. He remembers the mole using magic earlier. When it attacked, a black mist appeared around it. He assumes that mist was magic power. That thought explains why he cannot activate his own magic. He also notices that the skill description says nothing about automatic casting. He has not learned any incantation skill either. One answer becomes clear. Fire magic at this level needs a chant. He decides to follow the customs of this world. He raises his voice and tries chanting. He calls out to the fire spirit and asks for its power while attempting to form a fireball. Nothing happens. He tries again, changing his words. He repeats the chant, begging the fire spirit for help. Still nothing works. Frustration settles in. He realizes that chanting in katakana changes nothing. Fire magic likely requires chanting in this world's language, which he does not know. With no other options left, he gives up for now. He accepts that fire magic will have to wait. He desperately tries to use fire magic again. He raises his hands and calls out for fire to activate. He shouts for a fireball and begs the fire spirit to lend him its power. He repeats the word fire again and again, hoping for a response. In the end, he even calls out Mokyo, copying the sound he heard earlier, but nothing happens. He gives up on fire magic and decides to forget about it completely. He tells himself that fire magic is not something he understands yet, and he stops thinking about it. He chooses to sleep instead and eats grilled fish and grilled rabbit. He wishes he could cook properly with fire magic, but he accepts that he has no choice for now. He notices a goblin nearby and realizes that he is slowly getting used to danger. He decides not to worry about fire magic anymore. He feels afraid of parasites, but he accepts that eating raw fish is possible. He understands that he cannot live like this forever. He needs to find a settlement and leave this survival life behind. He thinks about what he truly wants. He does not want to live in a survival game. He wants to adventure, grow stronger, and enjoy this world. At that moment, the system notifies him that his level increases to 3. He learns a new skill called Rush Level 1. He feels confused at first because he does not see it in the combat skill list. He searches again and finally finds it. The system explains the skill. Rush costs 5 magic power. Rush allows him to charge forward at 130% of his normal speed. The maximum distance is 5 meters. He feels satisfied because this is the kind of skill he has been waiting for. He decides to test it right away. He tries to use Rush while standing still, but nothing happens. He remembers the trouble he had with fire magic and moves forward instead. The skill activates instantly. His body surges ahead with sudden speed, and he understands that this is a real skill. He notices that his magic power decreases when he uses Rush. He also realizes that he does not need to shout the skill name. He thinks the skill is not very useful yet, but he believes it will work well for surprise attacks. The only problem he notices is that his shoes come off when he uses Rush. He finds a very good place to sleep for the night. A river flows nearby and fruit trees grow close to it. The place is high enough that goblins cannot reach it. The comfort feels much better than the places he used before. He realizes that he can use this spot as a base. He checks his status again. He notices that his stats increase by 3 every time he levels up. He thinks about the maximum level being 99. If that is true, his final stats would reach around 300. He wonders if he would become extremely strong at that point. He looks at his skills and thinks carefully. Fire magic depends on intelligence. Rush depends on agility. His status clearly affects how his skills grow. That means his choices will shape his future strength. He decides not to think about fire magic anymore. He then realizes something strange about Rush. He did not learn it from defeating monsters. He understands that Rush is a skill he automatically learned when he reached level 3. He thinks about his other abilities and estimates their growth. He believes his stick technique is around 20%. His swimming is around 1%. His shield technique is about 2%. His earth magic feels close to 20%. His presence detection seems around 23%. He notices other small improvements too. Searching increases slightly. Fishing improves a bit. Water techniques grow slowly. His tolerance also rises little by little. He realizes that defeating monsters and living actively improves many things at once. That feels very beneficial. He looks at the long list of skills available. Magic, gathering, sword techniques, cooking, and forging all reach up to level 10. Many of these skills can help in daily life, not just in battle. He thinks about the people of this world. They probably learn skills based on how they want to live. He remembers what he gained after playing for 6 years. He reached the top on every server and people called him the God of Cessation. The title feels empty now. That life cost him his place in college, and it pushed him out of his parents' home. Even so, those days remain the most enjoyable time of his life. He realizes something unsettling. This world suits him too well. The excitement feels the same as before, and that scares him. He reminds himself that he is an adult now. He believes he has already moved on from that life. He does not want to throw everything away and lose himself again. Still, he allows himself one small wish. Just for today, he wants a good dream. He calls this method the pebble bait strategy. He no longer feels afraid of the moles, he throws a pebble and the mole appears. That is how the strategy works. A pebble is required, but the method is simple and effective. By defeating moles this way, he gains good experience in earth magic and presence detection. Compared to fighting goblins with his bare hands, this gives better results. He remembers that he once met a goblin that used a stick and wonders if it was a rare monster. He questions whether it was truly a goblin or a different creature. A sudden sound reaches his ears. He hears a human voice. He feels alarmed and wonders if someone is under attack. He cannot tell if it is a woman or a child, but he decides to investigate. As he moves closer, he notices a mole that has not detected him yet. The mole blocks his path. He pauses and remembers that moles come out of the ground. He stays alert. Soon, he sees them. 3 children stand ahead. At the same time, he spots a goblin holding a sword. He has avoided fighting multiple goblins until now, but he cannot ignore the situation. He does not want to watch anyone die in front of him. He decides to help. One of the boys, Zinc, calls out and takes charge. Zinc plans to handle 2 goblins and asks Mamiya to deal with the last one. Mamiya feels confused for a moment but understands the intent. He agrees and prepares himself. He reminds himself that victory belongs to the one who strikes first. He stays focused. 1 goblin remains. By now, he is used to this kind of danger. He shifts his attention to the sword-wielding goblin. The attack hits him hard, but he endures it. Nearby, a young boy manages to defeat a goblin without being noticed. Mamiya realizes what is about to happen. If this continues, the boy will land the final blow. Mamiya feels a surge of urgency. He apologizes silently and moves in. He refuses to let the kill be taken. He strikes down the goblin himself. At that moment, the system notifies him. His level increases to 6. He reflects that this system feels just like one used in MMORPGs, where the one who deals the final blow receives the reward. If experience truly exists in this world, then the same rule likely applies here as well. The goblin he defeated was a rare sword-wielding type, and his greed pushed him to act without thinking. Mamiya feels uneasy. He finally meets locals, yet he behaves badly. He worries that they might hate him for it, but that concern quickly fades. He cannot understand what they are saying at all. He pauses and looks at them, wondering if they can understand his words. He gestures for them to wait and focuses inward. He checks the system and realizes the problem immediately. He cannot communicate because he lacks language comprehension. He finds the skill called Otherworld Language Comprehension and decides to learn it. At level 1, it allows understanding similar to a 5-year-old child and does not allow reading or writing. Mamiya feels frustrated. He ends up with the language ability of a small child and feels irritated that the acorn-head god did not grant this skill from the start. He catches himself and calms down. He is standing in front of children after all. He decides to raise the skill by 1 more level. The improvement raises comprehension to the level of an 8-year-old child and stays active at all times with no magic cost. He realizes he has used up all his free points and feels a bit regretful. He steadies himself, apologizes for startling them, and signals that he can now understand simple words. He feels relieved when they respond. The children react with surprise. One of them wonders if he prayed to the goddess, since they have never seen anyone gain skills outside the church. Mamiya wonders aloud if they live nearby. Zinc explains that they come from a nearby town called Bezart town. They entered the forest to hunt horned rabbits but ran into goblins instead. Zinc grows annoyed and explains that Pota ran deeper into the forest. Pota immediately defends himself, insisting that he followed the rules and ran straight as instructed. May admits she followed him because she believed Zinc could handle the situation. Zinc snaps back, overwhelmed, and admits that facing a sword-wielding goblin is impossible, so of course he would run. Mamiya listens and feels strangely reassured. They are loud, messy, and clumsy, but they feel real. The world feels exciting, almost like a game. Yet one mistake here would mean death. Until now, he distracted himself from that fear, wandering without survival knowledge or guidance. Standing here with children from a town grounds him. May notices his silence and checks if he is all right. He reassures her and admits that he got lost, so meeting them brings him relief. He wonders if they can return to Bizarre Town before sunset. Zinc considers it carefully. He thinks they can move fast enough to escape the forest before nightfall, though Pota is slowed by the heavy basket he carries. Mamiya agrees and urges everyone to leave immediately. Darkness is approaching. He adds that he still has his flashlight, so reaching the forest entrance in time should be possible. The children react with excitement. Zinc becomes curious and wonders if it is a magic item. May feels confident in her earlier suspicion and comments that Mamiya must be an aristocrat, especially since his clothes look strange. Mamiya cuts off the chatter, feeling pressed by time, and asks Zinc to lead the way. Zinc agrees and explains that he can see the Sare River, which gives him their direction. Following the river would slow them down, so he decides they should cut through the forest instead. Mamiya agrees and they move out together. Zinc urges everyone to move and calls out to Pota, asking him to lend over the sword. He makes it clear that there is no time to keep using knives anymore. Right now, they do not have the luxury to collect magic stones or monster body parts. Zinc lightly swings the sword and checks the sharpness of the blade. Mamiya listens and wonders about magic stones and monster materials. He becomes curious and wonders if they usually collect those items to sell. Zinc agrees easily and explains that magic stones found in this forest are small and not worth much. But for beginners like them, they still matter. May looks surprised and reacts as if Mamiya does not know about magic stones at all. May assumes he must be rich and jokes that he probably never sold them before. She teases him by calling him a corporate slave and laughs at how impressive the name sounds, jokingly wondering if he takes care of wonderful creatures. Mamiya quickly denies it and makes it clear that he is not a noble at all. Instead, he describes himself as a low-class corporate slave. Mamiya then wonders about the word us that May used and asks if that means they are acting as a party. May agrees and explains their roles without hesitation. Zinc handles the hunting, she focuses on gathering, and Pota carries their supplies. She urges everyone to keep moving. May adds that herbs and fruits can be sold in town. Mamiya wonders if they are afraid of entering a forest filled with monsters. May admits that it is scary but explains that her family runs a pharmacy. Some people rely on magic to treat injuries while medicine for illness is expensive and difficult to sell. Because of that, she pushes herself to help earn money. Mamiya listens quietly, feeling overwhelmed by her determination and thinks it is Zinc. He calls her May-chan in his thoughts. Mamiya notices Pota lagging behind and encourages him to hang in there, suggesting they slow down if he is exhausted. Pota apologizes for being slow and admits that he never struggled when helping his family in the fields. But now he feels clumsy. He jokes that he plans to pray for better language comprehension next time he visits the goddess. May reacts with disbelief and teases him for still struggling despite his farming background. The mood lightens when Mamiya wonders aloud if there is something above the trees. Zinc immediately corrects him and points out that the danger is below. He explains that moles are sensitive to sound and that making noise can force them to surface if they are nearby. Mamiya feels impressed by Zinc's knowledge and acknowledges it. Zinc laughs lightly and shares that his father taught him these things because he was a hunter. Mamiya wonders if Zinc plans to go on an adventure in the future. Zinc dismisses the idea for now and says that even if he does, it would only be to the Raka Plains someday. He admits that strong monsters live there, so it is a goal for the far future. Zinc then shares that he lives alone with his mother and feels the need to grow stronger quickly to support his family. Mamiya reflects silently. Pota sacrifices his study time to work hard in the fields. May risks her life by entering the forest to earn money for her family. Zinc prepares to inherit a dangerous job to support his mother. They are all about the same age as Mamiya's current body. He realizes that struggles like these are normal in this world and understands why they might mistake him for a noble. Zinc suddenly realizes that they never properly introduced themselves. He mentions that he already knows Mamiya's name because it slipped out earlier in the chaos. Mamiya feels slightly embarrassed and apologizes for the late introduction. He introduces himself as Loki. The three children repeat the name together, stunned. Zinc reacts in disbelief and connects the name to the Demon Lord. The realization shocks all three of them, and silence follows. The name Mamiya chose was once famous in a game he had been deeply obsessed with. It belonged to the strongest player and was the same name he had used himself. He has no intention of revealing that he came from another world, and he also decides to hide the status screen granted by the acorn-headed being. He never felt the need to fake his name. The excitement he feels whenever his level rises and his fixation on landing the final blow still cling to him. The sheer variety of skills, combat, magic, support, passive, and even creation, keep stirring that excitement inside him. Since arriving in this world, those familiar feelings resurface again and again. That is why the name felt right at the time, though embarrassment finally catches up to him now. A demon lord. He feels unsettled and wonders how things ended up this way. Zinc reacts with surprise and feels confused about how Mamiya can be neither an aristocrat nor a demon lord at the same time. May joins in, recalling stories that describe demon lords as figures dressed entirely in black, which matches Mamiya's appearance. Mamiya's thoughts begin to race. If there is a story about a demon lord, does that mean one does not exist yet? The idea makes him uneasy. For a moment, he wonders if the acorn-headed being brought him here to fill that role, then quickly dismisses the thought as going too far. Zinc lightly mocks him for dressing like Loki as well. Mamiya shifts the topic and wonders aloud about the story itself. Zinc finds it strange that Mamiya does not know it despite his appearance. The story speaks of a demon lord born from darkness who ruled over monsters while shrouded in black. A hero descended from the light and defeated him with holy power. Zinc recalls it as a heroic tale about a man named Takuya. Mamiya recognizes it as a familiar demon lord and hero story, but the name makes him pause. Takuya. Zinc seems unsure of the details, but Mamiya recalls that the hero is said to be a prince of some country. Zinc adds that the hero came from another world, and May agrees, remembering that he appeared suddenly and defeated the demon lord. The pieces fall into place, and Mamiya realizes that Takuya was a powerful otherworlder. A bitter feeling rises in his chest as the image of the acorn-headed being returns to his mind, granting powerful abilities to others while giving him almost nothing. Mamiya quietly wonders if there are more people from other worlds. Zinc thinks back and recalls his father mentioning something like that long ago. May smiles and shares her wish to meet someone from another world someday, imagining she might find one in the royal capital. Mamiya reflects silently, knowing she already has. Zinc quickly cuts the idea short, pointing out that they do not have the money to travel that far. Zinc suddenly notices a mole ahead and moves without hesitation. Another appears to the right and he takes charge of it, signaling the others. He urges Pota to hide and motions for May to stay back. Mamiya watches as they move naturally, each acting according to their role. Their coordination feels smooth and familiar. A memory surfaces of game parties where people supported each other, shared rewards evenly, and enjoyed the journey together. Back then, Mamiya had watched from afar, focused only on efficiency and results. The thought lingers in his mind. Companions, friends. He wonders what kind of path awaits him in this world. Soon they escape the area safely, and relief spreads among them as the danger passes. Zinc confirms that the road ahead is safe. May shows her relief, and Mamiya helps by taking the heavy basket from Pota and carrying it himself. Before long, a town comes into view. May smiles brightly and welcomes them to Bezart Town, expressing how glad she is that Mamiya, known to them as Loki, was with them. Mamiya quietly notes how quickly everything has unfolded. A guard at the gate notices them and wonders why Zinc, Pata, and May are out so late. After hearing what happened, he feels grateful toward Mamiya for saving them. Mamiya humbly reflects that he was also lost in the forest and that they simply helped each other. The guard brings up the report of a sword-wielding goblin. Mamiya acknowledges it and shows him the goblin's sword. The guard inspects it and observes that there is no rust and that the blade is still in good condition, suggesting it is fairly new. Realizing how exhausted they must be, the guard apologizes for stopping them and welcomes Mamiya into Bezart Town as well. Zinc tries to hand the sword to Mamiya, but Mamiya refuses and insists that Zinc keep it, feeling that the sword is too long for him and that Zinc saved him as well. Zinc disagrees, feeling that this would not be fair and admitting that he cannot use the sword either. The guard interrupts, growing impatient, and reminds them that they will meet again at the Hunters Guild the next day, suggesting they continue the discussion there. Mamiya reacts with interest at the mention of the Hunters Guild. The guard then recalls that he plans to report the incident to the guildmaster, since it has been years since a sword-wielding goblin appeared, and he hopes Mamiya will come along. Mamiya agrees and accepts the request, suggesting they meet again at the guild tomorrow. Zinc thanks him sincerely once more, and May also expresses her gratitude, calling him an aristocrat, a demon lord, and their savior. Mamiya responds politely and parts ways with them, agreeing to meet again. As Mamiya walks on, the system notifies him that his earth magic and presence detection have increased. He immediately understands why. The experience came only from the moles he personally defeated earlier. One realization settles firmly in his mind, landing the final blow matters. He feels conflicted, knowing that if he wants to gain strength, he may have to give up the idea of relying on others and sharing battles. A hint of disappointment surfaces, as he had hoped to fight as part of a party. He knows he cannot ask others to let him take the last hit every time. He decides that changing his gear will be necessary. Mamaya looks around and takes in the lively town for the first time. Despite the bustle, what he wants most right now is food. He requests meat, and the shopkeeper calmly states the price as 400 beek. Mamiya wonders what beek is, and the shopkeeper clarifies that it is the local currency. Mamiya exhales, decides to cast aside his pride despite being 32 years old in his mind, and turns to Zinc, Pata, May, and Porter, asking them to lend him some money. Mamiya sleeps on a tree branch when a sudden noise startles him awake. Confusion crosses his face as he listens. Then realization follows when he notices someone below. He accepts that he is still alive and decides to climb down. The night had been harsh. After leaving the forest and parting ways with the others, things seemed fine at first. However, the sudden reality of beaky currency hits him hard. Without money, he cannot find a proper place to sleep, or even buy food. In the end, he spends the night outdoors. The situation feels cruel yet fitting for a game-like world. He reflects that having no money leaves him no choice. A familiar voice reaches him. May appears and feels relieved when she finds him. She admits that she has been searching everywhere. Mamiya recognizes her and feels slightly embarrassed. May looks up at the tree and feels surprised, realizing that this is why she could not find him earlier. She gently reproaches him and admits that if he had told her, she would have let him stay the night. Mamiya feels awkward and explains that he only realized he was completely penniless after they went their separate ways. He then wonders about their plans for the day. May responds with certainty and urges him forward. They are heading to the Hunters Guild, and the others are already waiting. With that, they hurry off together. As they reach the Hunters Guild, Mamiya turns to Pota and the others with a serious look and promises that he will return the favor someday, then asks if he can have some of the meat. He eats greedily, and satisfaction spreads across his face. The meat tastes incredible. The juice spreads as he chews, mixed perfectly with salt and spices. This is exactly the kind of otherworld meal he had been longing for. Someone nearby notices his appetite and feels amused. Mamiya reflects that it makes sense, since he has not eaten a proper meal for 6 days. A familiar voice suddenly reaches him. He looks up and feels startled when he sees Amanda standing there. She observes him with interest and feels that he seems to have a promising future. The 3 children cheer loudly when they notice her. Amanda confirms his identity and recognizes him as Loki. She senses that he must have had a rough day yesterday. Then her tone turns serious. Someone from the guild is calling for him. The guildmaster wants to see him, and she asks him to come along. Mamiya feels uneasy. The words guildmaster echo in his mind. He wonders if he did something wrong. Thoughts rush through his head. Did sleeping outside cause trouble? Did eating fish and fruit without permission offend someone? Anxiety builds, but he quickly agrees to go. Amanda reassures him and encourages him to finish eating first. Soon after, he stands inside the guild office. A man greets him with calm authority and introduces himself as the master of the Bizarre Hunters Guild. His name is Yagovel. Mamiya introduces himself as Loki. Yagov wastes no time and moves straight to the point. He presents Mamiya with money and explains that it is a token of gratitude from the town for saving the children. Even though Mamiya was an outsider, he solved a serious problem. Mamiya feels overwhelmed. He admits that he only acted out of desperation, but he accepts the money with deep gratitude, since he currently has none. Yagove then expresses interest in having him join the Hunters Guild. Mamiya considers it carefully. The work suits him, but he feels hesitant because he does not plan to stay in the town for long. Yagove calmly explains that the Hunters Guild is an independent organization supported by the country. Any registration made here will remain valid in other regions and countries. Mamiya understands and feels reassured. He notices that despite his status, the guildmaster does not pressure him and speaks seriously to him as an equal. That leaves a good impression. Yagove observes that Mamiya seems able to understand the local language well. He explains that, aside from appearance, one can sometimes tell a person's origin by the movement of their mouth when they speak. Mamiya feels surprised and realizes how much he still has to learn. Yagove then adds one final observation. The language Mamiya speaks does not match any country he knows. Yagove's expression turns serious as another matter comes up. 10 days ago, 2 hunters from this town went missing, and a search request was issued. He wonders if Mamiya can share anything in detail. Those hunters usually worked in the Great Forest Pamera. Before they left, one of them had just refurbished his equipment. Yagova then wonders why Mamiya entered that forest even though he was not a hunter. Mamiya feels tension rise inside him. He senses suspicion. He expected questions about the sword, but the direction still catches him off guard. He realizes that a poor lie would only deepen doubt, so he decides to be honest. He apologizes and admits that he cannot explain why he was in the forest, but he firmly states that he did not kill the missing hunters. If he had, he would never have shown his face in this town. He then recalls what he witnessed. 3 or 4 days earlier, he saw something that looked like a human arm, already being eaten by a goblin. The memory still feels heavy. He adds that he will return the sword he took from the goblin to the hunter's family. He also offers his help in searching for the remaining traces of the missing hunters. The guildmaster decides that it will not be necessary. The missing hunters were a married couple with no close relatives, so there is no one to return the sword to. He allows Mamiya to keep it. The guildmaster expresses regret, making it clear that he was not accusing Mamiya directly. Incidents like this are common for hunters, but he cannot simply ignore them. With that, he ends the conversation and mentions that the registration desk will open at noon. He adds that it would be good if Mamiya considers joining the guild and offers his regards before leaving. As the guildmaster walks away, Mamiya feels unsettled. He wonders what that exchange was really about. The mention of searching for remains lingers in his mind. He questions whether it was meant to stir sympathy. The guildmaster's eyes remind him of a company director from his previous life, someone who always smiled, handed out gifts, and spoke kindly while the younger workers treated him like a friendly uncle. Yet behind those smiles, the eyes never truly smiled. They hid their real intentions, making them impossible to read. Mamiya revises his earlier judgment. He realizes that he does not like that kind of person. Elsewhere, Amanda notices the guildmaster's unusual mood and remarks that he seems troubled for once. The guildmaster agrees and reflects that the boy is far too sharp for his age. He considers the possibility that Mamiya might be similar to the 4 individuals from before, though he admits he cannot be certain. Amanda reacts to how bold that assumption sounds and senses that he must have a reason. The guildmaster recalls an incident from 6 years ago. Amanda immediately remembers it as well. Items such as shoes, a watch, and a glass board, objects with strange shapes never seen before, were discovered and sealed as national secrets. The guildmaster connects that memory to Mamiya. He notes that the boy carried a watch, and it was still moving. If Mamiya had simply found it in the forest, he would have tried to hide it. Yet he did not. He also never brought it up during questioning, acting as if it had always been his. His focus remained solely on clearing any suspicion of murder. The guildmaster instructs Amanda to keep a close watch on Mamiya and report everything. Amanda agrees but cautions him not to cross the line. She warns that if their town were to vanish because of reckless involvement, it would be disastrous. The guildmaster reassures her and takes responsibility. He reflects quietly on how the boy chose the name of the demon lord for himself. The choice deepens the mystery surrounding him. The guildmaster feels a strong need to uncover Mamiya's true objective as soon as possible. The town has seen no major changes for a long time, but he cannot help hoping that this strange presence might bring something positive. With that thought, he offers a silent wish. He hopes Loki will be kind to their town. Mamiya thinks about the Hunter Guild and feels that joining it is probably necessary to survive in this world. The guildmaster gives him a strange and uneasy impression, and the earlier questioning made him feel as if he was suspected of being a killer. Even so, Mamiya feels confident that he can manage here and do well. He turns to May, Zinc, and Pota with a light smile and shows them what he received. He feels amused as he reveals the amount, and quietly enjoys their reactions. The 3 of them freeze in shock when they see the money. Mamiya feels the weight of it himself and reflects on the sheer power of money. He confirms the amount as 150,000 BQ. Zinc grows curious about the reason for such a reward. Mamiya understands that it is a token of appreciation from the mayor, given for saving the children. May reacts with excitement and recalls that if it had been registered as an emergency quest, the reward could have been even higher, possibly around 100,000 BQ per person. Mamiya feels surprised by that thought. Zinc quickly grows serious and warns them not to tempt fate. Emergency quests almost never happen, and forcing one would lead to punishment. The word penalty makes Mamiya tense. Zinc calmly explains that hunters exist to help people, not to profit from emergencies. If such a quest were mishandled, the guild would demand reimbursement from the hunters instead. Mamiya absorbs this explanation. Zinc adds that it was still too early for the guild to declare an emergency quest, so the reward was most likely given simply for protecting citizens. Feeling relieved now that he has money, Mamiya suggests they eat some skewered meat together. As he moves on, Mamiya reflects again on the guildmaster. The man feels different from what Jacob once described, and that lingering sense of unease remains. He decides to focus on what comes next and looks around, wondering where he should register. At that moment, Amanda notices him. She reacts with mild surprise when she realizes he remembers her name. She smoothly reintroduces herself as the guild receptionist, Amanda, and mentions that her position is the third highest in the guild. Mamiya feels that remembering her name was the right choice, and senses that this connection may be useful in the future. Amanda checks whether Mamiya can write. Mamiya believes that he can. After a short struggle, he commits and writes his name carefully. Amanda watches closely, then nods with approval. She assures him that the guild card will be ready shortly. While they wait, Amanda begins to outline how the Hunters Guild operates. The guild mainly focuses on monster subjugation, but lower-ranked hunters often take on ordinary work as well. Many quests involve simple labor, deliveries, or support tasks rather than combat. Mamiya listens and starts wondering about the ranking system. Amanda clarifies that every hunter begins at G rank. From there, ranks progress upward until A rank, with S rank standing at the top. In total, there are 8 ranks. Hunters are generally allowed to accept quests only at their rank or below. However, with special permission from Yogav, they may take quests one rank higher. Mamiya immediately recognizes the importance of obtaining that permission. Amanda adds that he should be able to receive such approval, especially considering he defeated a sword-wielding goblin. Mamiya then wonders how promotions work. Amanda apologizes lightly and admits that those details are not made public. Pata, listening nearby, grows curious and wonders whether there is some kind of promotion exam. Amanda explains that advancement to B rank requires passing a practical test, while reaching S rank demands a direct interview with the Grand Master at the guild headquarters. She summarizes the system clearly. Promotion depends on contribution. Hunters must prove their value through results. Mamiya understands at once. The system is merit-based. Strength and effort lead directly to recognition and reward. The realization stirs memories of his previous life. This structure feels nothing like a black company, where effort only brought more burden. Here, effort leads to progress. The thought settles firmly in his chest. Amanda finishes her explanation and asks Mamiya to look after the 2 children for now. Mamiya agrees without hesitation. In this world, effort finally carries meaning. Amanda smiles warmly and tells him that she looks forward to his future achievements as a hunter named Loki. She adds that he can approach her anytime if he has questions. Yogav personally asked her to keep an eye on him, and Mamiya is still unfamiliar with the town. Mamiya agrees and feels reassured by her support. He admits that he has many questions, and decides to begin with a simple one: good hunting locations. Amanda reacts with delight and teases him for such an innocent starting point. She recommends the first layer of the Great Forest Palmyra, which suits lower-ranked hunters. Few people go there. For faster growth, she suggests the Roka Plains and the Lulav Forest. Mamiya recalls hearing those names from Zinc earlier. He quietly repeats first layer and reflects. In that shallow region, hunters usually encounter horned rabbits or goblins. The deeper layers grow far more dangerous. His curiosity deepens as he wonders about areas even locals cannot fully explain. Amanda smiles and calls him a curious boy. She shares that legends claim only the Birdman tribe has ever reached the 5th layer, though no one knows the truth. Records suggest that even reaching the 2nd layer takes 60 days. Those who return from the 3rd layer report that monster strength becomes standardized by depth. The 1st layer exists purely for beginners. She adds that hunters often encounter troublesome monsters known as huli moles, which is one reason the forest remains unpopular. The Great Forest Palmyra alone covers nearly a quarter of the continent. Because of its sheer size, no one understands everything inside it. Mamiya listens, fascinated, and quietly describes it as an incredible place. Excitement rises as he compares the forest to a final dungeon placed beside a starter village in a game. He admits that such settings appeal to him. He thanks Amanda and shifts to another concern. He wonders whether low-ranked hunters are forbidden from fighting stronger monsters. Amanda pauses and remarks that he suddenly sounds much less innocent. She explains that hunters may defeat stronger monsters, but they will not receive full subjugation rewards if the quest exceeds their rank. Mamaya responds calmly. Reduced rewards do not bother him. As long as there is no penalty, he can accept it. Amanda confirms that partial rewards are still granted. Mamaya accepts this condition easily. Amanda then wonders if he plans to go deeper into the Great Forest Palmyra. Mamaya immediately denies the idea, feeling that such a thing is impossible right now. Amanda points out that his expression suggests otherwise. Mamaya corrects himself and admits that it is only a goal for the future. Amanda nods and emphasizes that the guild limits rewards to prevent reckless behavior. A hunter's life matters more than profit. She encourages him to move on to his next question. She sighs lightly and comments that he certainly asks a lot. Mamaya feels relieved rather than offended and thanks her sincerely. Amanda suggests that if he wants deeper knowledge, he should visit the document room. The books there are extremely valuable and heavily guarded. Mishandling them could result in lifelong servitude. Her warning carries weight. Mamaya promises caution and thanks her again. As he walks away, a chill runs through him. He recalls considering writing things down earlier and feels relieved that he did not. Paper clearly holds great value in this world. The realization explains why quest boards are carved from wood instead. Zinc calls out, wondering whether Mamaya has finished registering. Zinc mentions that they sold their materials and suggests splitting the money. The total comes to 22,000 break. Mamaya quickly calculates and states 5,500 each. Zinc reacts in surprise and jokes that Mamaya must be a merchant. Mamaya denies it. Zinc then mentions plans to sell the sword and wonders what Mamaya intends to do. Mamaya admits he has no plans yet and decides to accompany them. He also wants to locate a weapon shop. Zinc points one out and they head there together. At the weapon shop, the shopkeeper offers 50,000 break. Mamaya counters with 80,000. The shopkeeper refuses and admits he originally intended to offer only 20,000. To keep things fair, he raises the price to 40,000 break, emphasizing that he cannot take a loss. Mamaya calmly points out that the sword is second-hand and will be resold at the marketplace. The shopkeeper admits that similar swords sell for around 100,000 break. Mamaya proposes 60,000. The shopkeeper refuses again, stating that profit only comes after a sale. Mamaya adds that the sword was purchased from this very shop 10 days ago and recalls how even the gatekeeper praised its quality. He stresses that the sword will sell quickly and raises his offer to 72,000 break. The shopkeeper grumbles and threatens to sell it to Podakun instead. After a tense pause, he finally agrees to 72,000 break. Mamaya nods, satisfied. Before leaving, he reminds the shopkeeper to state prices clearly from the beginning next time, especially when dealing with knives.
Here I am.